The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com.
We here at Expedition Roasters are incredibly thankful for all the love and support from our fans this year, especially our Behind the Ears podcast listeners. Your love of our specially themed coffees is what keeps us moving forward. 2018 was amazing because of all of you, and we can't wait to reveal what we have in store for 2019. So be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Expedition Roasters to keep up with all the latest events and specials. And to start the new year off right, we're also offering our Behind the Ears podcast listeners that have ordered with us before 15% off their next purchase through January with code EARS15. And first-time orderers can still take 20% off with code EARS20. That's EARS15 and EARS20 at ExpeditionRoasters.com. Brew, your happy place.
Do you want to save around 40% off Disney's prices for deluxe on-property accommodations? Contact DVC-rental.com. They help out Disney Vacation Club owners rent out points that they're not going to use. These points mean savings for you on your next trip at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Vero Beach, Florida, and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. The DVC member books everything in your name, just like any other reservation. You can check out buyandselldvc.com. As a licensed real sell DVC comes of 30 to, and if you're looking to sell only 6.5 for your rental need, and buyandselldvc.com to buy or sell into the Disney Vacation Club at a large discount. And make sure you tell them that the Behind Ears podcast crew sent you. You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast because everybody does Disney differently.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting Tuesday episode of Behind the Ears podcast. I am Uncle Danny, the man with the yellow hat, looking all.
You're going to say fluffy. You were going to say fluffy.
It wasn't going to be fluffy. It was supposed to be snazzy, but started out with an F, and I tried to counteract that and figure out a good word. It didn't work. Anyway, that is Mr. Chris. Once again, I am Uncle Danny. This is Behind the Ears podcast. If this is the first time you've ever found us, well, hey, welcome. Thanks for joining. If you're new, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday, and we talk all things Disney. We are a Disney World centered podcast, I would say that. But if you're not new and you're like, I'm tired of hearing it, well, I'm sorry, but I have to tell people. It's just how life goes. Anyway, so weekend, how was it for you?
Warm.
Must be nice.
We had a warm weekend. It was in the 50s. On Saturday.
Wow.
And, I even went outside for a walk in January. Dude, there were people cutting their grass over the weekend.
Why, though?
I don't know why. The only thing I can think of is these are the people that were also cutting the grass, getting the mulch, of their leaves and stuff like that. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was just like, it was ridiculous to see that, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So it was just one of those cases. It was really nice. In fact, it was even warm yesterday, and got a chance to. I had to do a repair in my mother-in-law's car. She's down in Florida right now, so she leaves her car. Says, "Here, it's broken. Fix it." That's all I get. And so, At least it was warm in my garage yesterday. I actually worked on her car in shorts in my garage. I was pretty pumped up. So anyway, how was your weekend? Are you finally recovered from the holidays?
Yeah, pretty much. We still have our couple random days like today where it's just mayhem. But outside of that, no, pretty good. Our guest, is he ready yet or no?
Our guest is ready. He's ready to go. We actually had some really start of good conversation before you came about.
On
what?
I was gonna say something before you started talking about him. I wanted to say about my weekend. I didn't get a chance to answer.
Sorry.
Anyway,
jeez.
I saw Mary Poppins, and we could talk about it later. That's all I wanted to say. Now can you go back to what you were doing? Thank you.
Sorry. I don't know what to say. But
so you were having a good conversation, and who may that conversation have been with?
Oh, yes. So I have got Scott from DVC-rental.com, and he is going to join us today, and mainly because there's been a lot of DVC news that have actually come on, and, quite honestly, we try to bring a lot of really good news out to our listeners, and we know that we have a lot of people that are either DVC members or dare I even say DVC curious in our listening audience. And quite honestly, I really believe that the best way for us to get some of the best information out there is to bring people in that really know what they're talking about. And quite honestly, who else to talk about this than someone that actually does DVC day in and day out in the not only the rental but resale industry. And so, Scott, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I got trumped by Mary Poppins again now, but that's all right. It happens all the time.
I will ask.
Hey, if you get trumped by anybody, at least it's that.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you actually see Mary Poppins yet?
I haven't, no.
I haven't either. So Danny's going to talk about it. Knowing him, he's going to be like, spoiler. So it is just one of those things. Well, kind of getting right down to it, Scott. You and I were talking a little bit before the show, and yesterday, basically, it actually was kind of leaked more on Sunday night. Basically, there's been some big proposed changes to how some things are going to happen within the DVC world, especially when it comes to Riviera, as well as the new and upcoming DVC resort that's going to happen over towards Fort Wilderness. And it kind of depends I'm having a hard time wording this, thinking while I'm talking here. It really, how it's going to impact people is really going to depend on their point of view and what they are really going to do. I was wondering if you can just maybe briefly give us a rundown on basically the high level overview of what's going to change with some of these new DVC resorts, especially as it pertains to those that either want to buy into them in the resale market, or dare I even say sell it after they've purchased it directly from Disney.
Yeah, there's a couple different intricacies that Disney has with this, and they're promoting some and they're leaving some stuff out, which is why you have to get out there and explain what's going on. So Disney's, as you mentioned, building the brand new Riviera resort.
Right.
And what they've announced is that anybody who purchases resale after January 18th, the points will be able to still be used in all of the current 14 DVC existing resorts, but it won't be able to be used for Riviera or any other resorts that Disney builds afterwards. So obviously, we're getting a lot of people coming in who are doing a mad rush to try to get some purchase some contracts on the resale market so they get grandfathered into it. And part of the deal they dropped with Riviera as well is that, they're going to be selling it direct first. That's obviously the only way you can ever purchase it originally is directly from Disney. And then typically within a year or so, you'll start getting some people who need to sell. Life happens, The number they always throw out is the average person holds onto their contract for 10 years. So what Disney announced for the first time ever is that anybody who buys into this brand new Riviera resort will have access to everything. All the current 14 existing resorts plus Riviera and anything new that they build. But if you ever need to sell the contract, you can't use it for any of the 14 resorts right now. You can only use it for Riviera and anything they build forward. So you're paying in direct prices to get the brand new, the newest resort that they have out there. But if, you go through a divorce, you need money, kids are going to school, you ever need to sell it, at this moment, it's good for only one resort. You can't use it for Grand Floridian or a lot. If you will go to Hawaii, there's nothing left. So you've lost all of your rights essentially.
So if I was a Riviera direct buyer, I went to, and I sold it, that's one thing. If I was the person buying that resale contract, you're saying it's not just Riviera, but anything going forward, I would have access to, not just Riviera,
Correct.
but everything going forward. Okay, and
I think it's best to kind of figure it like being two phases. Like DVC phase 1 is all 14 existing resorts right now, and then they're creating phase 2, which is going to be Riviera and anything that's completely brand new. So yeah, purchasing direct, you've got access to everything, which is wonderful. You purchase any resort direct, you have access to everything. But if you go to sell it, it's the only resort now that has this stipulation that you can only use it for phase 2 resorts. So if you sell in a year or two, the only resort that's going to be built is going to be Riviera. And if you buy it on the resale market, that's the only resort you can stay at. So the prices when you go to sell it are going to drop dramatically.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything for that.
Yeah, I mean, think about trying to get into your home resort and it's sold out. You can't even go anywhere else now. I mean, you're done. There's no other options. You can't even sit there and say, you know what, I can't get to Disney World, but I'll take a trip over to Hilton Head, or I'll use points for something else. You are done. There's nothing you can do.
And if you think about it, the whole going forward part, you never know when or where the next DVC resort is really going to be. I mean, we have an idea right now of the next resort, but I mean, let's say in the next 5 years, you technically would only, if you're a resale buyer, that is, of Riviera, you would only have access to two in the next 5 years. And, what's going to happen within the next, another 5 years, say 10 years from now, will they have another one on top of it? 3, maybe 4 if they're extraordinarily aggressive. Right now, I'm also going to say this as a disclaimer. I have no idea what they're going to do after these next 2, but neither does anybody else. And you would be buying a contract that had, regardless, it would have very, very limited use. And like Danny said, it's gonna cause resale to tank on those particular contracts.
Yep,
now,
absolutely.
You've got Scott up at the top, who owns and operates this business that directly handles this. You've got Chris, who's the other side, not that way. He is a DVC member. I am not. And I can tell you right now that if the money and the situation was right, buying resale, I've never been more intrigued on buying resale than right now. Because of, if it's starting with Riviera, isn't that kind of, one of two things is going to happen, and once you guys can correct me if you think you disagree with me if you think I'm wrong, but it's one of two things: either they're using Riviera as a test dummy to see how this all affects everybody, or Riviera is the first into many where they're only going to allow you to use your points, like Scott was explaining, at that said resort. And if that's the case, though, I would be ecstatic if I was a DVC member selling my Polynesian DVC points right now, because to me, if I'm selling my whole contract, I think that contract's way more worth. I think that contract is worth extremely. I'm going to get this, I promise you. I think that contract is worth more than a Riviera one, even though you might be going, we won't use Poly because I think Poly's in a different level. Let's use Old Key West because it's one of the oldest. People are always complaining about Old Key West. So I still think right now I would value my resale of buying a resale in Old Key West than buying a brand new in Riviera and being stuck with only Riviera. And it's not saying, Riviera is not going to be beautiful or it's not going to have all the amenities. I'm sure it's going to blow everything out of the water. But like Scott said, if Riviera is booked, you are done. Unless you buy direct and you buy grandfathered in. But honestly, to me, it seems that resale right now would be the hottest thing to do.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that Disney is known for is that they, as you know, they have right of first refusal, which means if you ever need to sell your contract, Disney has the right to buy it back. So it helps keep the rates high. They don't want the bottom to fall out of the timeshare system. You know, a lot of timeshares you can go on eBay and you can pick up for $1. You know that normally if you buy Disney, you're going to get a decent return on your money. If you buy direct, you know, there's a decent chance you may take a loss, or there's a lot of resorts that have even gone up over the years on the resale market. But with something like this is unprecedented, and you're losing all your benefits. Any contract essentially is better than Riviera on the resale. Because I mean, whether it's Saratoga Springs or Old Key West, which, you know, are typically not the most desired ones, you've still got access to 14 resorts, including, you know, Grand Floridian, Bay Lake Tower, you know, all Polynesian, all the nice ones, versus Riviera, which is going to be this brand new resort, but you're going to be so limited that it's just going to drive the prices down.
I want to ask a question, and I'm going to pose this to Chris and Scott. Why do people, like you brought up, I've heard the old, you know, Chris, you are a DVC member at Saratoga, right?
That is correct.
Why is that not such a desirable place? Because I've been to Saratoga many of times, stayed at Saratoga, stayed DVC at Saratoga. I think Saratoga is a bang-up resort. I love the location. To me, outside, all right, if you have kids, you are a little bit further from the parks. I get that. But let's just say you don't have kids, or your kids are grown and you're not traveling with them. I would go to Saratoga nonstop. You're right next to the best part of Disney, in my opinion, as of right now, which is the growing Disney Springs. I think it's crazy that they would say that's like people actually look at it as a not a good value. Scott, why do you think people are doing that?
It's a tough one. I think a lot of it, to be honest, is it's very spread out. So people a lot of times aren't thrilled with the bus systems, and it's by far the largest resort, and it doesn't have that special niche that some of the other stuff does. The Animal Kingdom has live animals, and there's the monorail resorts, and there's the Epcot resorts, and Wilderness Lodge has the Pacific theming and the boat ride to Magic Kingdom. Old Key West and Saratoga Springs are kind of by themselves with the condominium style where you park in the front. You're not walking through these nice, beautiful lobbies and going down the hallways. It's a condo style, and they're really nice resorts. I think a lot of it is that also Saratoga Springs is by far the largest resort, and without that niche, it's the last one that's available always. So a lot of times people just automatically think, oh, Saratoga Springs is left, you know, must be garbage. But Saratoga Springs, you know, I just used it as the example.
Oh, yeah.
But Saratoga Springs is a very nice resort, and most of the points I own personally are at Saratoga Springs. It's a really, really nice resort, but it kind of has, you know, that's the reputation that it's not the greatest, and it is, and that's why I use that as the example where people say, "Oh, I really don't want Saratoga," and Riviera is supposed to be this big, shiny, brand new, you know, object, and you go, "This Saratoga is looking pretty darn good with 14 choices versus the shiny nothing."
Yeah, and I would probably say, I mean, yeah, there's kind of a nickname at some DVC groups where, and pardon the expression / slang, but Saratoga is known as the Hood, and so Scott's heard it too. So the fact of the matter is that
I sponsor that group.
Yeah, well, there you go. Now the interesting part to it is this, and like Scott really pretty much nailed vast majority of the things I was going to say along the lines of it's more condo style. You're parking outside, right outside the door, so to speak. It's more it's semi-exterior corridor, and it's not really, you know, the exterior corridors are not decorated. They're not decorated, period. The funny part about it is that if you look at, like, say, Old Key West, outside of some architectural differences, you know, it too is pretty much external corridors and this, that, and the other. Although I will say that aesthetically speaking, Old Key West is still nicer than, from a corridor perspective, nicer than Saratoga. The thing of it is that I bought into Saratoga because it was one of the two that were being offered at that time. The other was being Animal Kingdom Lodge. And at that time, it was also lower on the maintenance fees per point. Now, and it was the largest. I wanted to be sure that I can get in somewhere. And so far, I have betted 1,000 when it comes to being able to get what I want at 11 months and not have a problem. And about 85% of the time I can actually, move to a different resort at the 7-month mark. I will say that it wasn't until only a couple of years ago we actually started going back to Saratoga, and I do like it. I think it's a nice resort. I will say that being able to be right near right by Disney Springs is definitely a draw. Transportation is good. Yes, it's a larger resort. If you think about it, some of these other resorts are very, very large. Animal Kingdom Lodge, especially, doesn't matter if it's Jumbo or Kidani.
Kidani especially.
They're huge. I mean, if you had a room that was all the way at one end to get to transportation, you're talking a 5-minute walk. And I'm not really exaggerating. I mean, go look. It's just one of those things. And I think just because it's not as elaborately decorated as, say, an Animal Kingdom Lodge, or especially if you try to make a comparison to the Grand Floridian, you're not comparing apples to apples. I really super do like Saratoga, and I will say I will continue to stay there. I will say this, Enrique actually has a really good question I was going to ask as well. He asks, as a direct DVC member, can I buy resale after the 19th and still use both points towards Riviera? Scott, do you happen to know the answer to that?
Yes. As a direct owner, the points that you own right now direct, say you own 100 points direct at Grand Floridian, those points can still be used for Riviera. However, if you're adding on 100 more Grand Floridian or Animal Kingdom, it doesn't matter where you add on after the 19th, those 100 will be flagged and will not be able to be used for Riviera. So even if you match the same resort or if you pick a different resort, the resale after the 19th, those will be specifically flagged and you can't use them for Riviera or anything going forward.
Okay. Wow. That answers a good question. I actually had the same question as Enrique with that. I mean, it's just like, it's a good solid question because you're in other words, those resale points after the 19th don't get like transiently grandfathered, so to speak, to use a big phrase.
And one thing to think about as well is, say you own Grand Floridian Direct right now, or as you own Saratoga Springs Direct right now,
right.
You're grandfathered in, you can stay at Riviera, you can stay at anything going forward. When you want to go sell the contract, you can't, that resale can no longer be used, even though it was direct, no longer used at Riviera or any of the new resorts as well. It'll still hold on to those 14 originals, but it doesn't matter. Once you try to sell it, whoever buys it can't use it for those resorts either.
So basically what you're saying is if you don't buy in now, you could basically kiss Riviera goodbye unless you buy direct, unless you buy even a resale, but it would only be for Riviera.
Yep.
Wow. They're making DVC complicated. I don't like that.
They really are in this one. I understand why they're trying to do it. They're trying to push the direct sales. That, Disney needs the resale market, but they never wanted to compete so much against it that they lose sales. So they're trying to push it. But the problem is every time they do this, it devalues the direct sales as well. Whenever somebody needs to sell, which, again, most people aren't going to keep their contracts for 50 years. So it's great for the direct sale person when they're buying it and using it. But as soon as they go to sell, I mean, they're going to be taking a hit on it. So they're shooting themselves in the foot when they do it as well. And they've ticked off a lot of DVC members by doing this. I as you know, I'm involved in a lot of Facebook groups, and there are a lot of people out there who are really, really excited about Riviera. And once they announce that, once you try to go to sell it, you can only use it for one resort for the time being, 2 resorts within 5 years. I mean, I've seen the majority of the people say they're out. They're no longer interested in it at all.
Well, yeah, and to be honest with you, when you need to talk a little bit faster there, Dan.
I was literally just turning my head to say something. You started talking. Go ahead, because I lost my chain of thought anyway. Go ahead.
That's my fault. So there's a couple good comments that are popping up here. And the next one, I think, really involves pure speculation. And I'm going to go ahead and flag this as speculation. Matt actually asks a question that's been bouncing around a lot of different Facebook groups. What do you guys think Disney motive is for this new rule? And I know that Scott kind of just mentioned something a little bit with it. I'll let him chime in about this in a minute. the, you know, I don't know, maybe 14 resorts is enough. You know, I like how you put it as like a phase 1, phase 2 approach, even though that's not an official designation. You know, it's kind of like, are they starting over, so to speak, along the lines of, you know, for those buying in brand new to Riviera? I don't know, but it seems to definitely start a line of delineation between current DVC resorts and, you know, what might be up and coming.
And one of the things also that I saw floated out there, and to be honest with you, I hadn't thought of this originally. And again, everything's nobody knows anything right now. There's a lot of resorts that in 2042 are expiring that people have no idea what they're going to do with. Some people are going, what if this now, if they get rolled into phase 2, you know, you've got your beach club and boardwalk and, you know, Hilton Head and, you know, all of them, the original ones were all 2042 expirations. What's going to happen to them? You know, people were wondering if they would extend them or what was going to happen completely. And now they're going, maybe they get rolled into a phase 2, because I don't know how much more room Disney has to keep building that many more resorts. When you've got 14 in phase 1, you know, if they're going to do like a phase thing, you kind of want it to almost be equal. And you're going, they really don't have room for that I can think of. So, and again, even if they did that, it'd take years and years to build and catch up. So I don't know if there's some sort of thoughts with the original resorts to kind of shift things, but again, everything's speculation right now. I don't know what Disney's going to do.
So I remember what I was going to say. You had said about how Disney's upset about the resale. Like they like the resale, but they don't want it to ever compete with direct sales. Mm-hmm. And I am usually not one to complain about prices. I usually understand it. You know, things go up. It's just the way of life. I'm not happy with it, but this is one of the times where I'm going to look at Disney and be like, maybe if you guys weren't pricing yourselves out, there wouldn't be as big of a resale market. I'm just saying, I mean, what if I wanted to buy in right now? I'm going to just throw something out at you. If I wanted 150 points of Polynesian, brand new from Disney, it's probably costing me $30,000.
You said 150?
150.
A little over. It's 220 a point. And there's also rumors that on the 16th, Disney might be releasing new prices as well, and all of them are direct or popping up again as well. So I think Poly maybe, I think I saw maybe instead of 220, maybe 230 or 235. Again, that's again speculation, rumors. I saw a little list today. It's not, you know, it's not real yet, but they keep every year keep jacking them up as well.
I'm sorry. If you have to tack on an AP on top of that, flights. Listen, I don't have kids. I'm in a very good spot financially. I'm still not about to drop $35,000 and this is where I think your business is. I smack myself for the last 4 years of never using you guys, because after what I was able to do on this trip, I'm looking around like, honestly, and this is not a smite at anybody who buys DVC. Chris, love you. You know, listen, I want you guys to buy contracts. It helps us look good too. But renting DVC points is the best thing ever. I don't have maintenance fees. I don't got to worry about a deed running out. Yeah, okay, I don't have the availability like everybody else does. But have you guys visited his site? There's availability. You just got to be able to, you know, maybe move some days or maybe move into a different resort. But there's options.
Well, and the interesting part to that, Danny, is this. And Scott and I were just talking about this right before we came online. I bought at $104 a point. Okay. And right now a resale Saratoga goes for approximately, give or take, 107. So the fact is, and that was a little over 10 years ago. So the fact of the matter is that, you know, I bought it at a good time. But the fact of the matter is, you know, time and money kind of go hand in hand, right?
Wait, so you can only make $3 a point compared to what you bought it for?
Yeah, but the thing is that like 5 years ago, Saratoga was like only like $75 to $80 a point.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually appreciated quite a bit, which you should never buy. In my opinion, you should never buy any kind of timeshare thinking it's going to directly appreciate in value. That's generally not a good way of looking at it. But But here's the thing, and I'm gonna answer kind of Diana's comment here. I wanted to buy a DVC membership, and I'm second guessing it now. I don't think you should, to be honest with you. I think
buy it now.
Resale.
Well, the thing is, you do resale. The fact of the matter is, if you buy any of the original, you keep Riviera out of the picture for a minute, you're still going to have 14 resorts to choose from. And granted, you're not going to be able to get into Riviera on points. You could probably still get in there with a cash resi if you wanted to. I don't think that this is something that should keep you from buying in the resale market for sure. I think right now you would have to think about what your game plan is if you're going to buy into the Riviera.
See, I think right now is the reason to buy resale. If you were one of those people that was on the fence about buying direct from Disney because, I don't know if I can trust Scott, or I don't know, I saw that face. That was a good one. I don't know, how does this resale thing work? I would rather buy it from Disney. This is point in case why buying resale. I want to go drain my bank account right now. You have no idea. I was looking at some of your contracts today. I was like, maybe how mad would Lindsay be if I came home with a shiny new DVC? No, but this is the exact reason why that if you were ever doubting or you didn't know where to go, this moment is when you should know right off the bat, oh, okay, not buying direct from Disney. I'm going to go buy resale.
Yeah, and you've got 10 days to get in and be grandfathered in where you can use your points for Riviera. But even if you can't, if you can't swing it in the next 10 days, you've still got your normal 14 resorts to choose from. So, I mean, it's not really like a lose situation, but if you're able to do it in the next 10 days, it's a bonus. You're grandfathered in and you can use them anywhere you want. And then if you ever want to sell them, you're just going to lose the Riviera portion. You're not going to lose access to everything like you would if you had bought direct from Riviera.
I've been perfectly happy.
What is ROFR?
Right of first refusal. It is the idea that if I, as a seller, want to sell my contract because of one reason or another, basically, what ends up happening is that I would have to, or I should say the process is that Disney gets the chance to buy that contract at my proposed selling price. Disney has 30 days to basically say, yay, you can go ahead and sell it to whoever you're selling it to, or they're going to say, hey, guess what? We're going to buy it from you instead. Basically putting, yanking it from the proposed buyer, but the seller still sells his points.
So could this be are people fearful now that Disney is going to start gobbling up your secondary market and resale?
I don't think so. Disney's been a little more active in the past several months. I'd say for the last 2 years, the average was maybe they were buying back 3% of the contracts. Now maybe they're up to like 10%. So it's not a huge amount. 90% are making it through, but Disney doesn't want all these contracts. They don't need them all, and
no.
So I don't think this is going to affect it too much at all. And truthfully, because this deadline's in there, our sales have gone up a lot because everybody's trying to get in, and I'm sure all the other resellers their sales have gone up a lot. And Disney's now going to get flooded with contracts that they really didn't need that much anyway. They're worried about Riviera. They're worried about other stuff. There are people on wait list for resorts. So, Disney will be buying them back. But if I had to guess, I don't think they're going to be exercising it on more than they were previously. And especially with the ton coming in, I think, honestly, the percentages are probably going to go down over the next, couple of weeks because it's just going to become a little more flooded.
Yeah, and to kind of think of it, I'll answer Laura's question. Are they trying to get rid of DVC? No, not at all. In fact, they're just trying to, they're just doing something different compared to everything else. And DVC, especially with the original 14 resorts, that any contract's going to be, any contract that's being had right now, and sold on the resale market right now would be fine. Here's the thing: people have to understand something. Disney does not want to buy an inventory of points at sold out resorts. They don't necessarily want my Saratoga points. They would rather have somebody else buy it unless they already have somebody in their wait list that is interested in Saratoga points. Because think about it this way. It's like having cars sitting on a car lot. They are doing nobody any good. And they're just sitting there. They would rather, a person who owns those points is a person that's also paying maintenance fees on those points, is a person that's actually going to be using those points or renting them out, regardless, those points are going to be used. Disney does not want to carry an inventory on anything. I mean, they want to sell out those resorts, and they're only going to try to pick up resale contracts that are, on the right of first refusal clause, only if they're going to be able to turn around and sell them like that. People have got to realize that.
Yeah, and Disney doesn't really want people coming in and buying the existing resorts. They've got a lot of points right now that they're still trying to sell. And, for somebody to come in and say, I don't want what you're currently selling, I'd rather get on a wait list for something else. That's not what they want. They've got a time frame. They want to be selling the stuff that, they're building these rooms. They're trying to get rid of them as fast as they can. They don't want to be dealing with essentially selling used cars on the side. They've got all this inventory of brand new cars that they're trying to get out as fast as they can. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to want to hold on to anything, as Chris mentioned.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And one other thing I wanted to comment on, because I saw the comment, it's way up here in the comment section. People also have to realize, for every resort, Disney can't oversell. Okay, Disney can't sell too many points over it. It's against the law.
Oh, like they do with tickets for Halloween parties.
And not everybody is for a different show. But, people have got to understand, people are saying, well, DVC is overcrowded and this, that, and the other. The fact, and this is going to make it worse in some cases. The fact is that DVC does not oversell their resorts. They don't oversell the number of points. That is by law. And, the fact is that they've re-swizzled some of the points charts to try to balance some things out, this, that, and the other. But the fact still stands. They're not selling more points than what is allocated by law. And, I just think this will probably make people, I don't think it's going to really impact the original 14 resorts all that much. I mean, when it comes to usage, I don't think that's going to be a problem at all.
No, I wouldn't think so at all either.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Scott, any last items that you'd like to share in regards to this topic, and where can people find you?
Well, again, I'll give the plug as well. Again, there's 10 days to get in and get a contract to us to get to Disney, so you can be grandfathered in. Again, it's not the end of the world if you do it afterwards, but there's no point not to. If you're thinking of buying in, there's no point not to do it now, because you're going to have more options this way. So get them in. I mean, we've been a lot busier, but we're getting a lot of new contracts. This is also typically our busiest time of the year, which thank you, Disney, for doing this during our busiest time of the year as well. That's made it a lot of fun. Last night, I was laying there with a wet rag on my eyes because I had such a headache from just staring at the computer screen nonstop for days now. But yeah, please, if you're thinking of buying a contract, we're at buy, BUY, buy and sell DVC.com. Honestly, though, now's a great time to do it. And Danny has rented a room from us the other day at dvc-rental.com. That's always a great option as well. If you're not thinking of buying, if it's a little more out of your price range right now, this still allows you to save 50% or so off of Disney's rooms. And you don't have to worry about maintenance fees or a large amount down or what rules Disney's going to do. You can just rent the points, stay at the beautiful resorts, and pay a lot less than everybody else.
I've got one parting question for you.
Sure.
Because I've been dying to ask you, and last time I didn't get to ask you, and then there was another time you were on I wasn't on. So if I own a contract, like some of the contracts that I see that get posted, and let's say it has the deed runs out in 2045, what happens in 2045?
Nobody knows.
Okay, because no deed has ever run out. Is
exactly?
Not yet.
The closest thing they have is that, again, all the original ones were 2042. Several years ago, Old Key West was the first resort built. Several years ago, Disney gave DVC members the option to extend it to 2057. They charged a lot to do the extension, so most members didn't take it. So nobody knows what Disney's going to do. They don't know if they're going to do extensions and do something similar where, you pay a certain amount and we'll extend your contract for another 20 years. Or if they're just going to say, you know what, we're not going to go and, Beach Club's no longer a DVC resort. We don't know if now all of a sudden they're going to say, hey, it's part of phase 2 and we're reselling it again. And now, you can't get into it, with a resale. Nobody has any idea. But
was it that expensive to add the extra time onto it?
It's not like it was super expensive, but I think I guess when you ran the numbers, they sat there and said it wasn't worth it. It was just Disney charged way too much that it made it so people said it doesn't make financial sense to actually do the extension.
Hypothetically, you bought in for $20,000. Did they try to hit you for another 15? Was it that close?
To be honest, I don't know the exact numbers, but okay. I think it was something along those lines where they were going, I got a great price getting in, and I'm really not getting a great price by doing this extension and just kind of hurting myself. So, I mean, it was pretty much an epic fail. I mean, I of the old, I don't know exact numbers. I'm making this up right now, but I would think of the old Key West contracts that are out there, 5% were extended. I mean, wow. It's a really low number. Where it was overwhelming majority of people said no.
So if they said no, then they're just riding the wave, and they're going to see what happens in 2042.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Okay. That was something I was trying to explain to Lindsay the other day of like, hey, it's like a deed, and she was like, well, what happens? And I was like, honestly, I don't know.
It gets asked all the time, and people look at me. I'm like, man, I don't know. I mean,
it's never happened.
It's never happened. Yeah. Just as mentioned, I believe it was $15 a point. I think that might have been the number, but when they ran it, it just didn't make sense for people.
Okay, no, that's good to know. And that is seriously because one day, whether it's next year in a few years, I do plan on buying DVC, and outside of not being able to get the perks of, and I'm going to use those because Chris hates when I call it the perks of buying direct from DVC. I mean, someone like me, I just can't take off on a Wednesday and go to some DVC by the pool party in Florida. So to me, buying resale and being able to save some money is worth it. So now that, my girlfriend's listening, so now she can understand that, hey, we can buy in, and if it expires in 2050, woohoo, let's just see what happens.
I mean, I to be honest, but before I started the company, I bought several contracts over the years. I've bought every one of my contracts resale. I've told tons and tons of people over the years that I would honestly pretty much never encourage anybody to go direct. There's very, very small circumstances where it may be a little beneficial to do it, but resale is just such a better choice, and especially with what they're doing with Riviera now. I mean, honestly, I think it makes resale even better.
Outside of Riviera, I think the main reason I was ever even considered was buying in is if I wanted a direct hotel that I couldn't find on resale. That would be the only thing I would lean towards. But I mean, this day and age with the resale and the internet the way it is, you just got to wait a little bit and you can find what you want.
And even and when I became a member, the fact of the matter is that, the access to the resale market was a lot different than it was a decade, or than it is now than it was a decade ago. And there was not a lot of information about it. At the same time, when I bought into Saratoga, they threw me a double crap load of what they call developer points. So that first year, I had nearly 500 points that I was able to use. I took like 4 trips that year down to Disney, including one for 4 nights at a Grand Villa. And it was like, it was pretty epic, but they're not doing that stuff anymore. And, again, totally different it was 10 years ago. If I had to do it right now, resale. Be flat out honest. And you know what? Disney shouldn't mind that, because like I said before, someone who owns points is better than, points that are not owned. So,
yeah. And Disney has no interest in going into the resale market. So, I mean, we're a licensed realtor. It's like selling a house. They're the developer on it. Once they sell you the house, they're not interested in helping you out again. So they need a thriving resale market, because people do need to sell their houses, and that's what we provide. You need to sell your contract. Disney has no interest in helping you. You're on your own, and that's what we do. And we help it going, and we get new families getting in there, and then they're going to Disney. I mean, it benefits Disney obviously as well. They're getting brand new families getting in there, spending their money. So resale is actually very important to Disney.
All right, Scott. Well, we do appreciate you stepping in here and spending a little bit of time with us. Great information, man. I'm serious. It was I didn't think we were going to talk this long about it, but I'm actually really glad, because I got a lot of my questions answered.
A lot of good.
Well, I greatly appreciate you having us on. I'm not gonna lie, I'm exhausted. I am going right to bed after this. I'd love to watch the show because I need to go to sleep. I am so tired. I know I'm gonna wake up early in the morning tomorrow, and the fun's gonna keep on going.
Well, we wish you much success. Hopefully, you get some rest and go make some sales.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, man. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Move my camera back a little bit. Okay. Oh no. Yeah, I like that one better. There we go. No. Make us bigger.
Oh,
That's
you
what
didn't
I
make
want.
your
Yeah.
bed.
I didn't make my bed. No. All right. So that was Scott from DVC-rental.com. Man, that was a good conversation. That was a real
and I'll be honest with you. I really was serious.
Sorry for hijacking it a little bit.
No, not at all, because it was great conversation. And I will admit, I thought we would only need 15 or 20 minutes to cover it. And as we see, we had
8 minutes later.
Yeah, in the bus, your best SpongeBob type of montage thing there. The fact of the matter is that, for those of you who are new to our show, one of the cool parts about our show is that we are very interactive. And the fact is that those that ask questions, make comments, you become a part of the show. And a lot of times, you guys help us drive that conversation. And it's like having Danny and I sitting around a living room type of thing with, at this moment, over 60 of our best friends. And that is what we are all about. But we still have a little bit of time left. So don't go running away, because there's always a lot more fun. And
That's what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we had Scott on,
yes.
And then we had slated to chat about some things in the review for the year and some plans we have for 2019. Me personally, I think we should save the review for Thursday. Yeah. Unless you had something planned for Thursday. Only because I think that show honestly needs a full hour. There's a lot happened.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot's going on in the future. A lot of things happen in 2018. We would definitely like to recap. We do have a request for something on Thursday, but it could possibly even wait until next Tuesday as well. But you know what? We will see what we can do. I think Thursday we should actually do our year in review before we actually forget what happened in 2018.
That's very true. So I want to touch on something.
What's that?
So I went to Mary Poppins.
Uh-oh.
Now. I'll keep the spoilers to a minimum. But here's a spoiler that's really not a spoiler, but you should really pay attention to this. It is not a remake, and I thought it was. Mary Poppins Returns. I was like, oh, it's just the whole story all over again. No. It was not. Oh, man. The young lady, her name is escaping me right now, who played Mary Poppins.
Emily Blunt.
Was it really?
Was it? It was Emily Blunt, right?
Was it? I didn't think it was Emily Blunt.
No, wait, no. I'm getting my movies mixed up because for some reason I'm having a complete brain fart.
Okay, well, he's doing that. She was fantastic. I think she nailed the role perfectly. The movie was terrible. It was one of those, I was really waiting for it. Oh, it is Emily Blunt. Everybody's saying Emily Blunt.
Okay, it is Emily Blunt. I'm not that crazy. Okay, thank you.
It was one of those movies where I kept watching it being like, okay, they're going to dig themselves out of this hole. They're going to dig themselves out of this hole. And they never dug themselves out of that hole. It was a 2.5 hour movie. It literally could have been an hour and 45 minutes and still been just as terrible probably wasn't the correct analogy. It just wasn't that good. And I was expecting it to be really good based on the fact of all these live action remakes. Now, granted, this is a little bit different. I understand that, but these live action remakes that Disney's been doing have been killing it. They've been fantastic. And when it came to Mary Poppins, I was like, you can't screw up Mary Poppins. It's a great storyline. And I thought the storyline was just The acting was fantastic. And I don't blame it on the actors and the actresses. I do blame it on the storyline and the direction of the movie. There was too many questions not answered. And all right, it's a tad bit of a spoiler. The a tad bit of a spoiler. It's not a big one. It's a baby one. Spoonful of sugar.
Makes the medicine go down.
Let's go fly. What?
Makes the medicine go down.
Yeah. Let's go fly a kite. Iconic Mary Poppins songs. Probably the two most iconic songs that they did. Never appeared in the movie. And they would make innuendos like, haha, the movie starts off with a kite. That's literally the first 10 minutes of the movie is a kite. And you couldn't sing Let's Go Fly a Kite. Not even like a jingle. Like someone's cell phone rings and it's that tune. I don't know. I looked at Lindsay at the movie. I was like, and that this is how, I'll admit this, how dumb I am. Entire movie I'm watching it. I'm like, okay. I look at her. I was like, it's really odd that they didn't sing a Spoonful of Medicine and a Kite. She goes, well, yeah, because it's a different movie. And I was like, no, it's a remake. And she's like, no. I sat this entire movie just thinking it was like a bit different, but it was a full remake. No, don't make that mistake, people. No, it did have new songs. And this, I'll get, Chris, you're going to enjoy some of the songs.
Yeah.
You will.
I'm a soundtrack guy. Yeah.
If I knew those songs weren't coming, I probably would have walked out about hour 1 into it. Just because you can't have Mary Poppins without those two songs.
Let me ask you this. Did you think it was a remake because of all the other movies that were either A, coming out, or B, were remakes already? I mean, it's kind of following a trend, so you kind of thought this was
that and the commercials, yes. And they talk about the Banks. I didn't realize that there was the Banks kids grown up. I just thought it was the Banks. And all right, one last thing. Wait, Let's Go Fly a Kite is the movie Listen Closer to Songs. Yeah, but they don't sing it. That's the whole point, Brian. I had another point. Oh, what is can you name me a movie where a parent isn't dead in a Disney movie? One of the parents isn't dead or doesn't die.
Brave.
Both parents were there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Moana too, right? Weren't they both there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go my generation. Because I just got nailed on 2 quick movies. And then that really defeated my point here. Let's talk like circa 1990s. Okay. All the parents were always dead. And this one, the mom's dead. It's a weird thing. I don't know.
It's interesting you say that. And I heard someone said it was a rumor, and this is so rumor, it's not even funny, about the idea that, and I'm laughing and it's really not funny.
Ooh, Incredibles.
That's true, The Incredibles. But it was like, because you don't have a mother and a father, it's cheaper to produce because you only have to deal with one set of lines. I heard a rumor one time, like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So,
yeah.
Listen,
you go. Guys, I get it. Not all. I was making a generalization that all the parents were dead. I'm just saying. All right? Will you just let me be? I'm a big Mary Poppins fan. Bought my sister Mary Poppins Pandora charms for Christmas. She got the purse. We're big Pandora people. We're big Pandora people. We're big Mary Poppins people. Let's go fly a kite, man. Let's go fly a kite. And Butch said it wonderfully. Was waiting for the Dick Van Dyke style Mary Poppins. Never happened.
I mean, let's face it. In the original, Dick Van Dyke was, when I say paramount to that movie, second only to Julie Andrews doing it.
Yeah, and I know someone said, oh, well, it's because Julie Andrews didn't do it. Granted, Julie Andrews played a better Mary Poppins, but did she play a better Mary Poppins, or was it because that's just who Mary Poppins is in our heads? Emily Blunt did a really good job. Way better than, what was the cat's name that was Emma Stone? No, why am I saying that name wrong?
For whom?
Belle.
Oh, Belle was Paige O'Hara.
Not him.
Oh, you're talking about the remake.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is.
I don't watch Disney movies.
No, and the funny part is, Hermione is her character in Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, she was great in that. By the way.
She was, and for some reason, holy crudskis! Why Emma Watson?
Yeah, terrible. She was terrible in that movie.
She wasn't that bad.
That was a train wreck.
No,
performance.
No, that was. I tell you, I mean, okay, you know what? Seriously, when Beauty and the Beast,
Dick Van Dyke did kill it in his cameo though.
Yes,
his little role he had.
So here's the thing, and I thought about this not too long ago. The fact of the matter is that I don't mind the remakes. I like watching the remakes. And yeah, I will say that every once in a while, I find myself making direct 100% comparisons with the original versus remake, especially when it's an animated tale and it's coming to life, so to speak. Beauty and the Beast was one of those first ones that I could actually recall. I think Emma Watson did a really, really super good job. The fact of the matter is that the animated classic was so much put on a pedestal that it was really going to be hard for a live action remake to actually, do it justice. And people were very vocal about that. And actually the thing is, I mean, like one of the first ones actually was Cinderella, and that was beautifully done. I mean, I was super enthralled with that as well. But, the thing of it is that, and this is not a criticism, this is just an observation from a movie lover. You have to go into that. You have to go into each one of these remakes knowing that it's going to be a little different than what you know. And that's kind of the hard part, because it's, if you ever watch a movie over and over and over again and you know what's going to happen, but you still find it entertaining, and then you see a remake of it, you're like, wait a second, this isn't what's supposed to happen. It's perfect example. And this will be great for those people who have visited both the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World and have gone to Disneyland. You go down Main Street and you see the castle, but other than that, you have no idea where the other things are supposed to be. And that's what some of these remakes really kind of make you feel, because you know that you're in Disney, but you don't necessarily, things feel a little out of place. And that's what some of these things feel, but yet I still love them very much so. I think, Chris actually said it good here. He goes, I know I look funny when I say this, but I actually enjoy the remakes more than the originals. That may change with Aladdin and Kim King, though. Oh, probably The Lion King is what he meant to say.
Yeah.
They are my two all-time favorite movies.
I'm nervous. First of all, back to the original topic. I don't know why you didn't make a remake. Why did you have to make the next version of it a part 2 of Mary Poppins, essentially?
Because there's more than one book in the series of Mary Poppins stories.
Yeah, I know, but to start fresh though, if you're gonna go with the live action, start from the base. I'm really nervous about Aladdin. Why? Really nervous about Aladdin. Why? It's just, I think Will Smith is going to be a phenomenal genie on screen. Sure. I think they hit it hard and they hit it right, picking Will Smith there. I just think you're going to miss a little bit. Will Smith can do a 99% fantastic job, but we're always going to hold him to that standard. And I think he gets close. I just don't think he hits it.
I don't disagree. I think you are spot on. The problem of it is, and this is not a criticism to what you're saying, but it just means that movie fans today have a hard time of judging individual movies for what they are. And it's that 1% of gap that you're talking about that, Will Smith can do a 99.9% job, but it's that 0.1% that we will criticize him on. And that's,
absolutely.
And that's all people will focus. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's fair. I think it's natural.
If you don't want that criticism, then don't make that movie. You have plenty of other movies you can go remake.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying, I think people need to look at some, and this is just me talking as a movie buff. I mean, there are movies that get remade that you stop and say, wow, that was the biggest piece of crap ever. And then you have these movies that are just, I mean, that are being introduced for the first time to a new generation in some cases. And I think that's kind of what this is supposed to be intended for. I mean, the technology is there to do a lot of these different things. And, Aladdin was released a long time ago. If you think about it, it still lives in our hearts in a very fresh manner. But I also sit and think that people just need to look at it with a fresh mind and really enjoy it for what it is. You're right.
Yeah.
We're going to miss Robin Williams. Let's face it. All of us knew Aladdin as Robin, and we all knew Robin as Aladdin. And I mean that with the utmost of respect. And it was one of those cases.
Christina brings up a good, yes, that's a one.
I saw that. I'm like,
even if Robin Williams is still alive, would they have cast him? They didn't cast any voice actors of any of their live action so far. Here's the difference. And I'm not putting him on a pedestal because he is no longer with us. I think he is one of the few people that would have gotten that part. Out of all the people who voiced over, listen, I think there's honestly two people in the entire Disney universe where if they made a live action remake of said movie, it would be Robin Williams as Genie and it would be Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
I think those just because those two voices, you can't use someone else there. You can kind of imitate Scar. Beast was, close enough. You could, auto-tune it as much as you want. Buzz Lightyear and the Genie. Those are your two that you physically need the actual voice actors to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, I respect people's opinion. I just wish people would also look at some of these things in a different way. Take the remake of The Jungle Book. I have to be careful how I say it wasn't a 100% remake. That was the thing. It was a slightly differing storyline. Fabulous movie. Absolutely fabulous movie. I know it was kind of panned by a lot of different people. I really super enjoyed it. While a non-Disney movie, the funny part about it is where's the comment? So Chris mentions they tried to remake Jumanji. And while it was funny, it was also horrible and kind of slapped Robin in the face, if you ask me. I just saw that like it was over the New Year. I love the first movie. It was really good. I actually really enjoyed the second movie. But the thing is that it was a different storyline, just slightly different. And, it was still really good. I'm a Dwayne Johnson fan, though. I mean, to be very honest, but it's just one of those things.
It's this simple. They both were terrible movies and both fantastic movies all in their own. I really think that the movies were so different and so bad and so great all in their own that it was okay. That was one of those that was like, oh, okay, pleasantly surprised. I'd like Jack Black in it. I thought that was a very good role for him. I thought that was a very good role.
Yes, it was. It was. I mean, it was one of those things. And, Danny, I really hope in the near future, and I'm going, since your significant other is listening right now, I beg and plead with her that she inspires you to watch more movies, because I think you and I would have some awesome conversations regarding some of these movies. And
are you sure though? Because I'm a pretty critical person, and I just destroyed like the last 3 live action movies that Disney has put out.
You know what, though?
Sure you wanted me to do that? Hey,
listen, Siskel and Ebert didn't always agree with different things either, but they were two of the most respected movie critics around. And the fact of the matter is that I know I look at things in a different way with movies. I'm a very cinematic type of person. And I can't wait to see Mary Poppins. I may not see it. Let's see. The next date night I get to have with my wife is not this weekend, but the weekend after. because my son's going camping and we go out to dinner, we go to a movie, that type of thing. We'll probably go see Mary Poppins because I got an AMC gift card for
So here's a quick question.
Yes.
When do they go into the Pixar realm and start remaking those as live action? Because you've got some heaters on the Pixar side. I don't know how you do them. Like, I don't know how you do Inside Out.
You know, here's the thing, though. You bring up a really
That'd be funny if you can cast that.
You would actually make a really good point because, well, like the Lion King remake it's CGI. Everybody knows it. Everybody's still calling it a cartoon because it's CGI. I shouldn't say a cartoon, animated because it's CGI. But the fact of the matter is, you know, how would they do that?
Imagine Finding Nemo. I don't know how you do that. Like, they're fish in a sea. Same thing with Toy Story. How do you make toys come alive? Like, I just don't know. You can't have Buzz Lightyear with all his lasers. Like, do you make him a cop? I'm not sure.
No. You make Buzz and Woody into an episode of Law and Order. Dum dum. Sorry, I had to. I mean, it's just okay. You know, I mean, I can't. Crap. Hey, listen. If you think about it, you know,
it would be an awful setup. Like,
well, the movie Christine,
Zootopia.
Okay.
How do you do that?
That would be like a CGI Lion King.
See, I don't like that. It's got to be live action or not.
Well, okay. Think about the movie Christine. You know, Stephen King's horror flick with a car that comes alive, kind of Toy Story-esque if you think about it, how they did that, and that was cutting edge special effects.
It was a good book, by the way.
It's a good book and a good movie. It really, and I am not a
way better book than movie.
I'm not a horror movie type of person, but still, there you go. Brian just mentioned, and I think this takes the cake. Buzz is the traffic cop for theme park crowds.
Just start shooting people.
Although think about it. Okay, Bailey actually brings up Coco would actually be a movie that you can do live action.
Yeah, that would not be a hard one.
Oh, and actually, I think
you could do that real good. Moana in the Air Force.
Moana, I think they can also do live action. It wouldn't be 100%. I mean, they would have CGI in it, just like they have CGI in practically any movie these days. Buzz in the Air Force, that is funny.
You could remake WALL-E.
WALL-E like Castaway with Tom Hanks. Yeah, I could see that.
WALL-E, I mean, you would still need a robot CGI, but outside of that, it's you could do it. You got the fat people on chairs. I'll be one of those people. Coco would get dark real quick.
Justin mentions, he says his puppeteer friend is working on the new Lion King movie. Yes, it's CGI, but there are puppets. There you go.
Okay. I still think it shouldn't be CGI. I feel like that's cheating.
What, the Lion King?
But fair enough.
I will tell you this. I saw the trailer for the new Lion King remake. I think it's cool. Tell you the truth, here's the thing. If you cast the right people or the right voices or the right people with the right voices, you're going to get a good movie. I'm still wondering what they're going to do to my favorite movie, The Little Mermaid.
What was it? I'm sorry. I was reading a comment. What did you say?
I was going to say, I said, I still want to know what they're going to do with my favorite movie, The Little Mermaid. They better not mess that up.
I think it's on Slate.
They better not screw it up.
Can I say something? Do you think because of the way our society is right now that they are waiting to do it? Like the whole conch shells and
the kiss the girl
could they be waiting for things to either just smooth out a little bit before they do? I mean, because that's a big heater right now in a lot of different groups about Little Mermaid being
there were a lot
movie for little girls.
Yeah, there were some things, especially about the movie Kiss the Girl, and I think there were some people that had some comments that they had to say about it. I'm not going to necessarily state here right now whether or not I'm going to agree or disagree with what was said, as you know, those types of things. But, I think in this day and age, any movie producer is going to have to be cautious about what they produce. I think, and here's part of the problem. And here's the part of the problem I see. There is a lot of crap movies out there. I mean, seriously, go to your local, disc replay or somewhere where you can get movies for $1 or something like that. Pick up 5 movies totally at random, and you're going to find most likely 5 crap movies. And you're going to find some of them that have a lot worse going on than some of the movies that are being protested and picketed today. But and there's movies on Netflix that are horrible and have themes that are very should be controversial, but they're not brought up. I think that movies such as that are brought together by Disney and or Pixar are usually put under a different microscope. People are going to sit there and they're going to really look at those movies very, very closely because they have such a captive audience. And they have an audience such as us that are going to be like, hey, these people are going to go see this movie regardless. We need to make a statement about it. I don't necessarily think that's fair. I think that means that Disney is put on a different pedestal than everybody else. And, I would love to see an even playing field when it comes to people being critical about themes in movies. That's just all I want to say.
All right, Chris, any final words for this evening?
I loved tonight's conversation. I just think tonight was an actually fabulous night.
With that being said, take us away.
You got it. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
Oh, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another live episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. That was Mr. Chris. Just a quick recap. We had Scott from DVC-rental.com. If whenever you're listening to the show, check your calendar. You only got a couple more days to get in there before you get grandfathered in. And then we just kind of went off an odd tangent about remaking movies and how I thoroughly did not enjoy the Mary Poppins. We appreciate you all hanging out. We had great numbers tonight. We've been continuously having great numbers. So don't forget, you could download us on all our social. You could download our show on all podcast catchers. Trisha would kill me if I didn't mention. Don't forget to join the WDW community Facebook page, 4,000 members strong and growing. Honestly, guys, like our opinions, dislike our opinions. We enjoy having you guys come hang out and really see what's going on. So we'll see you all on Thursday. Once again, I am Uncle Danny. Don't forget to tuck your kids in tight and drink a little cranberry juice, because if you're gonna go watch Mary Poppins, it's gonna be god awful. So maybe get ready for a nap. I am Uncle Danny. Until Thursday.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Really appreciate everything. And you know what? We just love all of you. Thank you for being a part of our family. And until next time, we hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.